Sit back, relax, put your belt on, and enjoy the show.
We're going to jump across the ditch now, and we're going to talk about the grand final for Super Rugby Aotearoa. Where else would it be, Cargie? Where are you going to see a Super Rugby grand final in New Zealand, mate?
Well, they organise it every year in Christchurch, don't they? There's no point in...
They book ahead, don't they?
Yeah, there's probably going to be a public holiday on around that time.
They just asked Razor Robinson how long his contract is, and they booked that far ahead.
It's definitely a public holiday, and they just book it out for years. But yeah,
imagine that at the start of the season, if it's like buy your grand final tickets now, like you're that confident. That'd be the best.
That would take some games.
I think just in that vein as well, I think the Blues. I think it's Jared we talked about before, who's the social media guy for the Blues. I think one of the tweets he sent out as well was it was like Chiefs. It was like Chiefs. You lost like. Before these last 5 games, you lost 12 games in a row. Like, good luck, you're going to need it in Christchurch. Something like that. I forget what it was. It's great anyway.
Yeah, it's good. I like it. You didn't nail it, but I like it.
Sorry, I didn't do it.
If Richie Mo'unga got injured, that they could also do the get your refund for your grand final ticket now.
Yeah. There's definitely a bet for that. You know what I mean? If Richie Mo'unga goes off, they're like, well, refunds for everyone.
Yeah. Well, look, Harry, do you want to take us through the injuries in this one?
Yep.
I suppose
Casualty Ward. What are you eating, Harry?
Yeah, as a preface, Harry's eating chocolate.
You professional.
As a preface, we don't have the team lineups here. No. They're going to be named tomorrow, as far as I know, afternoon.
Now, so if we just say with confidence, say we do have the team lineups here, and just say with confidence, we might get it right. Who knows? Then we look like geniuses.
I'll tell you what's about to happen. Sean Wainua, he's out with a hamstring injury, but he was never going to start anyway. Samapeni for now, awkward twisting through his... we came off after awkwardly twisting something and got injured. I'm not really sure there, but doesn't sound that promising. Valami Tuolani, who came off with a shoulder stinger, so that can take 5 minutes to get better. That can take a couple of weeks.
Mate, have you seen the way that guy's built? It'll take about 3 minutes, to be honest. I love Taulani.
He was part of the Chiefs under-20 side that played last week anyway, so I don't think it's too much of a concern.
Mate, started. What?
Returning Luke Jacobson, I'll put my money on it. He'll be back. He was a rested precaution for a concussion.
He's been training this week on the field, ball in hand. So I think he's pretty much. He sounds pretty close, good to go.
Are you putting your money on it like Nelson did in fantasy last year when he picked him up in the draft and then?
No, I run the casualty board, mate. I actually know what I'm talking about. And Braden Enor as well. I don't know. He's available. He's played a couple of rounds of club rugby now. What do you guys think? Do you think they're going to slot him straight back in or on the bench? Or
well, I think the Crusaders have made it pretty. It seems like they made it pretty clear before that they were going to keep him for Trans-Tasman. That they felt they didn't need to rush him back in, and clearly he's their starting centre when he is good to go. But no point to rush him back in. I don't think.
Look, I'm not as convinced. I don't think we're going to see him necessarily rush into that starting side. But I wouldn't be overly surprised if we do see him on the bench. You don't necessarily need to carry Matayeli. You got Fainga Nuku who can shift back out to the wing when Enol comes in. So I think he's a class player. I think there's been a few things lacking for the Crusaders this year. They're only coming first in Super Rugby Aotearoa, the hardest comp in the world, but.
Second hardest, Super Rugby across the ditch.
10th Tasman. Okay, yeah, just the AU. Just the AU. That's fine. But look, I think he adds a lot of composure for them, and I wouldn't be surprised to see him in their match day 20.
I think you've nailed something. I think he's been it's always hard to nail down any weaknesses for the Crusaders, but I think if there was one, it has been they've sorely missed Braden Enor this year. Even just Jack Goodhue by himself was missing having that kind of really good outside centre.
I think there's a difference with a lot of players, or some players in their team that are just amazing out-and-out attackers that can do whatever they want ball in hand, and then you're composed, the guy that settles people around him.
The link man.
The people in those opportunities, yeah. And I think that's probably him.
Yep.
Harry, how's that chocolate going?
It's so good, isn't it?
You're not sharing it with Nelson, are you? Good.
Nelson can't eat anything fun.
Man, I'm lactose intolerant.
Every time he has chocolate, he loses another hair.
Yeah.
That's true. That's why I always bring around good beers, and then Nelson can't have any. It's fantastic.
First of all, I want to touch on one more thing from the Crusaders that's we've heard over the week. They've had a big name signing, Harry. Anyone exciting?
No.
A guy
Mate,
maybe going,
What is
Not
this?
for this week. Not for this week. No,
not for this week. Cargie, do you want to touch on Pablo Matera?
How did the Crusaders get bloody Pablo Matera? How is this possible?
So the big thing out of this was he said he sounded like he was coming to the Tars. There was a lot of talk, lots like earlier in the day before he got named in Crusaders. The talk was he's probably coming. He wants to come to Australia. He said numerous times how much he loves Australia and he wants to come to the Waratahs.
Then he watched the game.
And then he went, oh, it's the Waratahs. And he goes, I could get paid way less and go to the Crusaders. Yeah, I might do that.
He wants to win a title.
You could win the
I mean, look, it's true.
Tars.
Do you want to go play for the best rugby team in the world, or do you want to go play for the Waratahs? I mean, it's it's a pretty easy decision, but still, I mean, just come on. It's like the only thing perhaps questionably that they had was it seemed like they have young back rowers. And don't be wrong, we've talked about Ethan Blackadder and Colin Grace. They're fantastic, but just Pablo Matera is like the missing piece of that puzzle almost. You know what I mean? Like, just come on.
Poor old Tom Christie. I love him.
Yeah.
Like Pablo Matera is a 7. He's an open side flanker, right? He
No,
plays
6.
No, he's an Argentinian center. He's a 6.
He's an open side.
It's the opposite.
No, it's the opposite. So he's an open side flanker.
Yeah.
But I mean, Krem is definitely more of your.
Keep in
your
mind,
blind side.
Crema is the other flanker.
Yeah.
I
But
realised that. I was testing you guys. That was good.
he also can cover 6. He can also cover 8. But he's I'd say most specialised as a 7.
Mate, I'd be playing Matera, Christie, and then one of Grace or Blackadder or Douglas or whatever as my starting back row. To be honest,
I am not against that. To be fair.
Yeah.
But
Feto Kamakamo Douglas for me.
Yeah. He's
Uber driver.
he has a bit more punch. But look, the Crusaders. For the first time in a long time, we're not saying this is Crusaders by how much.
I am. Oh, sorry.
Cargie is. I think they're going to probably win it. But look, I'll reserve this for when I make my pick, see how good you can convince me otherwise. But they've lost a few games in recent weeks, but their most recent match in round 9 was a 29-6 win against the Blues in Christchurch.
Yeah, the Blues suck.
They're what, 20? Is it 24 from 24 finals matches? Something like that when they're at home?
Can you remember?
Not bad.
Let's just contrast the difference between the first Blues Crusaders game of the year, where we were like, "This was the game we were robbed from last year. It was everything that we were promised," and then like it was a pretty good game. And then the second Crusaders Blues game, we were just like, "Why are we bothering?" You know what I mean? Like, it's unbelievable.
It definitely
What
is
happened?
the same. Look, I think let's get into the game about why you think it's going to be Crusaders by how much, Nelson.
Look, I don't know if I said it's not by Crusaders by how much for the first time in a long time, but look,
So,
I mean,
let's say lineup first. So Moody's out, right? So it's Bauer, Taylor, Cody Taylor, and Michael Alatoa. So the brothers playing in both finals for Super Rugby. You also got Barrett and Whitelock. You got probably Blackadder, Sione Havili, and Cullen Grace.
This is the team that started. I've listed here the team that started in the last game they played against the Blues.
yeah,
and what I think is most likely for them.
yeah,
to start.
I don't think you're making many changes there. You know,
I
I don't think Grace has been as good as we all wanted him to be or expected him to be.
I don't think anyone's going to come in from now, though.
But yeah, I don't think they're going to make any changes at this point.
And then you got Drummond Moonga, centers of Havili, Fanga, Anuku, and then on the outside backs, it sounds like Bridge and Reese are pretty much locked in, and obviously Will Jordan, after I said I had been underwhelmed with him, just had an absolute blinder last week.
How dare you?
He stuck it to me, didn't he?
Harry,
I think of the only people that we could possibly see come in would be Tom Sanders, even at 7 for Havili, but I still probably don't see it happening.
Mate, that was a fail.
Yeah, I don't.
Oh, I don't know. I think he did pretty well actually, but still, I see them rolling that same team out. I think you could be right. We could see Braden Enner on the bench, but I don't think they will feel the need. Really, the Crusaders always are just stacked and jacked.
Yeah, look, I think he's someone great to bring off the bench. I don't think I'd be making too many changes there.
No.
I don't think we really need to talk about how the Crusaders are going to play this game. They're just going to play standard Crusaders footy. I mean, I guess we can talk about like how did they lose to the Chiefs? How did they lose 2 games from being unbeatable? That's I guess the question we could answer. What do you guys think?
Their centers don't fit their team like they have in the past. It's as simple as that. David Avili's a freak, but he's not their established center that makes their backline tick.
But definitely have been giving away
flow and how they play out wide.
I think
giving away a fair amount of penalties as well, and they hadn't necessarily been dominating the set piece as much as we expected them to.
And their back row isn't as good as it has been.
I mean, they haven't had the ability to hold the ball and control the ball for huge chunks of matches like they have in previous.
Can you believe we're saying critical things about the Crusaders? I just can't.
I mean, they're still not a bad team. But look,
they might well win the New Zealand Conference, but that makes them like a top 3 Trans-Tasman team, doesn't it?
Something like that. But look, I think one of the interesting things is just they've been making so many tackles. They've got a bunch of players, on the top tackle list for Super Rugby Aotearoa, and you don't normally see that for them. They don't normally have huge chunks of time where these players are having to make bulk tackles, and they're making their tackles, but they're having to. That's the difference. They don't have the complete control, 80 minutes game management that we always seem to expect from them.
All right, my last point before we move on to talk about the Chiefs is, or is this all just part of a Razor Robertson master plan? He's like, boys, we're going to lose 2 games. Keep them close. I want you to keep them really close. But let's just lose 2, get everyone kind of feeling, feel good story. And then we're going to wipe the floor with everyone in the finals. We're going to come back and play our normal game. I'm not losing ever. I am Razor Robertson, mate. We're going 4 from 4. Is it 4 from 4 or 5 from 5? I don't even know how many times they've won now. But
I think it'll be 5 in a row. I think
5 in a row.
5 in a row. Jesus, okay. But this? There's been rumours of that as a conspiracy theory. I didn't just invent that just then. Okay, I did, fine. But anyway, let's move on to the Chiefs.
Yeah, look, I think an interesting take here from you, Cargie. How would this back 3 for the Chiefs shape up?
The back row.
I have to tell you that before COVID, Tom Christie from the Crusaders was the top tackler.
I told you. Oh, no, he's got one person.
All the Super Rugby.
Because he made all their tackles. Find the next Crusader. They've got 3 or 4 in the top,
15.
5 or 6.
15.
They've got 3 or 4 in the top 5 or 6 now.
Yeah, nice. Chiefs back row. Look, I think we all think Jacobson will be in there starting. So I think I asked a question. You guys probably answered me. I didn't see. But is Lachlan Boshier injured, or is he? He's not injured. He's available. He just was rested. Yeah. Okay, good. So it's Kalen Boshier out for the season.
Yep.
All right. Well, obviously it'll be Boshier and Jacobson then.
And Petty Gus.
And yeah, look, I mean, hopefully someone that isn't Mitch Brown. Sorry to Mitch Brown, but just.
Petty Gus has taken his chances, mate. He's played well.
He has.
He's been all right, but look, personally, I was just going to say that I loved the 2 back rowers that started last week. Taulani, awesome. I'm looking forward to him. But also Zane Capelli, the hitman, Samoan international. I mean, he was at the Highlanders last year. He got a game or 2. Mate, just give him some time, mate. He didn't rip a game last week for the Chiefs.
You're not bringing these guys into a grand final.
Let the boys play, all right?
After they just got pumped by the Blues by 20 points.
And they literally just played a team so they didn't get any of their important players injured. They weren't getting selected after getting pumped as a reserve team.
Okay, well, basically, look, it's Jacobson, Boshier in the back row. It's probably going to be Mitch Brown as well, even though I'd like to see anyone but.
That's a tricky one. Look, I mean, if we look at the Reds picks and they're going along those lines, they might want to have that extra lock as a jumping option and just give them a few more options there against the Crusaders. I could see that.
Which is actually a pretty good call because I think the big loss in the Crusaders' attack is that they're not as dominant off a scrum. The line-out is still their main way of scoring. So if you can disrupt that line-out, I think that's a big thing to beat the Crusaders.
I agree with that. And then, I mean, you bring in a guy like Sowakula off the bench as a impact player and with some tired bodies, if the Crusaders ever get tired bodies, and he can wreak some havoc.
Crusaders only ever get tired of winning. That might be the only thing they ever get tired of, to be honest with you. But
who's going to play 10 for the Chiefs?
Yeah, that's the interesting thing.
That's the big one. The thing was that when they won against the Crusaders last, D-Mac was playing 10. Huge.
Look, it's a tough one. I mean, he's played 15 for vast majority of the year and shifted into 10 at the back end. And, that last match up against Crusaders, he did the vice versa. And I think it worked really well, actually, him getting involved, composed, because we normally see him open the game up, in the back end of the game. If you're shoving him into 10, late in the game, you're sort of depressing that ability to open that game up the way he normally does. But if you start him at 10, let him have some control, work himself into the game, and then shift him back into 15.
You guys are missing the point. Man, it's not about where he plays. It's how do you get Chase Tia on the field. I hadn't said that in this podcast yet.
Well, I saw it.
Clearly, he's been ill for a couple of weeks, but now that he's healthy, they'll have to move Damian McKenzie to allow Chase Tia to start at fullback. Because that's how they win the game. It wasn't that DMAC was at 10. It was that Chase was at 15.
Right, I think they might have to start DMAC at 10 just because it's the marketer's dream. You know what I mean? They've already been putting the Richard Mo'ungas and DMAC space side by side on all the advertising material. Like it's your absolute wet dream as a.
Have we done that yet? So are you onto that?
No, it's been done. It's been done well, so I didn't need to do it.
But no, look. The only other point to that I would say is that Bryn Gatlin, he has played the house down. I think maybe not as much last week, but the week before, wow, he came out. And he had an absolute ripper game. He did probably the best game he's ever played.
Didn't he start pretty poorly as well? And then he just got better and better.
He did. It's like he was really feeling he's like, I really need to play well this game or I might not get to keep playing some rugby.
I thought he played well early in the season. So to convince you, mate, that he must have played out of his skin.
That's what I meant. He did.
Hater.
For sure. He bored me at the start of the season, to be honest with you. But
and he's quite, he's quite a good tactical kicker. I think he hasn't, hit everything that he's gone for this season. But I do think he's shown that he's quite a good tactical kicker.
I guess to round that out, sorry, who would you guys start at 10? There we go. Harry.
D-Max, I can put Chase Tia at 15.
Nelson.
To be fair, I love that. So I probably
it's really hard to.
And I convinced myself with the point that you want DMAC ending the game at with as much space as possible, so at fullback.
Chase plays 80, mate. What do you mean?
Not happening, mate.
Who Chase to win? Yeah, look, I framed that question saying who do you want to play, and now I'm just going to say who I think will be playing. I think it'll be DMAC at 15. I think it'll be Gatlin at 10.
So
probably not what I want.
Probably. Is there anything else here? I suppose if we look across to the wingers, Nana Saturo stepping everyone on one wing. Do we see Jonah Lowe keeping that spot on the other wing? Or do we see...
They might play with 14 men. It's been all season since they've had a good right winger.
Mate, Jonah Lowe, bring your pillow with you kind of thing. I mean, Kimi Naholo must be kicking himself so much that he's injured this season. He would have had that right wing on lock the whole year. Like, unbelievable.
Yeah, that's pretty upsetting thinking about that. Who else did they have who started the year at outside centre?
Oh, Sean Wainui started outside. And Quinn Tupaia.
He injured his hammy last week.
Quinn Tupaia.
He's captaining the B team.
We're talking about Quinn Tupaia?
He's gone.
Yeah, Quinn Tupaia's gone as well. So you got Nankivell there as
I think it is an opportunity when we're talking about the back line from the Chiefs that Nankivell is now playing well with Anton Leonard-Brown, who's also come good. Yeah. Versing a bit of a makeshift centre pairing for the Crusaders.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, they've both been there for quite some time. And although Nankivell was off the bench a lot, they've played a lot of game time together.
It's just taken 2 more seasons than we thought it would for Nankivell to start playing well for them.
And a few more injuries to other players.
Yeah.
And look, we say makeshift centres for the Crusaders, but I mean, we haven't mentioned that one of those centres is David Havili, the world's best rugby player. I don't know how we haven't said his name several times yet.
We have.
Yeah. Let's move on, Cargie. How do you think this game's going to play out?
Look, I think the Chiefs need to start this game really hard and fast. I think this is the type of game where it will kind of probably be more like test match footy. Well, that's how the Crusaders will be trying to play it. So they're going to try to really, very similar to the Brumbies, territory, set piece, slow it down, accumulate scoreboard pressure. I see both teams taking the points for sure. So they'll be kicking goals. This is finals footy. But yeah, it's really going to be won or loss, I think, based on discipline. So both teams, are subject to giving away lots of penalties. And it's kind of going to be who breaks first.
Every year, aren't they?
Yeah, I think they
Crusaders
used.
are the most penalised team every single year.
Yeah, they are. But I just mean, like it's kind of like how the momentum flows. Who starts getting penalised first? Do you know what I mean? So who really gets some good territory, builds the pressure? I said, probably. I know they're always, hesitant to give out a yellow card in the final, but I think we will probably see a lot of penalties in this game. We could well see some yellow cards. So I just think it'll be about who can, play that territory and discipline game better. Really, I think that's what it's going to boil down to.
So what's your pick?
Are we going to tips now?
Yeah.
I am going to tip the Crusaders because you'd be a madman not to. And I'm going to tip them by... I could take the easy low-hanging fruit, but I'm going to say by 7.
Wow, Harry.
I did tip the Chiefs last time when they beat the Crusaders. Called it.
Is that because we both tipped the Crusaders, or?
Yes, and also
Did I?
because I really want. Yeah, you didn't. You
I'm just assuming you went last and you went, I'm going to go with the Chiefs.
But I would say that I agree with Cargie wholeheartedly. You'd be a madman to tip against the Crusaders in the grand final at home, and I won't be doing it. So I'm going to go Crusaders by 4 points, even though my heart really wants it to be the Chiefs.
Let me guess. Nelson's going to say Crusaders by 3.
Oh, look, I again, same as Harry. I couldn't bring myself, unfortunately, last time to back the Chiefs.
Do it this time.
And this time what I've done is I've put money on the Chiefs plus the line. I couldn't even back them with my finances. So, I mean, if I can't do that, I can't back them with my words. I think the Crusaders are going to get it done. It's the experience of they do this every year. They have the same setup. They know what they're doing. They're playing at home. For the Chiefs, it's different. They're not used to this. They're playing away from home. I think that's going to be enough for the Crusaders to get it home. And I'll say Crusaders by 3, Cargie.
And look, the Chiefs, they also don't have that extra motivation the Crusaders have, which is that I don't think Clayton McMillan is agreed to do another breakdance after the game. You know what I mean? And Fraser Robertson's going to have to come up with some new moves. So.
He's going to have to do something different.
Yeah, no. He's only got one move.
Yeah.
No, that's what I'm saying. He's going to have to bring out some new moves. And they're like,
what? Do the foxtrot or something. Just do something completely different. Catch everyone off guard. But look, none of us are backing the Chiefs, but we would love to see it. We'll put that out there.
I could definitely see them winning. I just can't put my tip on them.
Yeah,
can't do it.
I agree. And
I was thinking about this earlier in the podcast. I think that this is the year that the competition catches up to the Crusaders.
Yep.
But it's not the year that the Crusaders don't win.
Next year.
Next year they won't win.
Yeah, I think it's fair.
Except that they've just got Pablo Matera and are getting better somehow.
Yeah, he'll do everything for them, and then they'll just forget about their other players.
It's true. I think I'd love to put together a super cut of the 2 games the Crusaders have lost recently where we were just like, wow, who saw that coming? And then we're tipping the next week's game. We're like, well, surely that can't happen again. You can't really tip against the Crusaders. We'll go to the Crusaders. It's just like super cut that all together. That'd be good.
Yeah. All I know is if the Chiefs win, it's off a Damian McKenzie boot in the last play.
Yeah, that's right.
That would be great. So, Harry.